G'day, welcome back. I'd especially like to welcome my new subscribers, and I hope you enjoy the content of my channel. If you missed my last video, there's a link up there now. Go watch that first, then come back and watch this one. Alright, in this video I'm going to do something that's kind of a little bit exciting really. Well, it is to me. I'm going to try and add something to my lathe to give it a facility that it's never had. Not since I first made the thing, it just hasn't got it. So let's head on over to the lathe and I'll show you what I've got in mind. Over there. Alrighty, so now that I've taken a deep dive into CAD and bought myself a 3D printer, what it's done is open up a world of possibilities for me. And I'm going to try to do something to this lathe to improve it, to give it something it's never had right from the get-go. And I never intended to be able to do it. But what I can't do is single point threads. So what I've given some long hard thought to how I can do that without going down the, the electronic path, because that's just not my cup of tea, I'm afraid. But the 3D printer, it's going to allow me to, prototype stuff and do things that I otherwise, would cost me a lot of money to do. Right, so first thing I have to figure out is just using what I've got now, the lead screws I've got now and all the rest of it, how can I drive the Z-axis from the spindle so that it's all in sync. So I'll show you shortly how I'm going to try and achieve that. But first I need to know how many revolutions of this lead screw does it take to move it 1mm, because I'm only interested in cutting metric threads. So this is a bit rough at the moment, but I'll rotate the lead screw handle until it gets to 1mm and we'll see how many turns it was. That is like pretty close, just eyeballing it, about 3/4 of a turn. Now to get to 2mm, should be 1.5 turns. And that's pretty much what it was. It looks to be maybe 5 degrees past that, so like I said, having the 3D printer will allow me to print up some gears, so if I need to go up or down a tooth, then that will allow me to do it. So let me move this camera and I'll show you how I'm planning on driving it from the spindle. Alrighty, so I need to be able to connect it up to the spindle, so what I'm going to, and there's a nice flat machined face here. I want to try and maintain this 20mm bore through here so I can still put stuff through the spindle. So I'll make up an adapter for here that will bolt onto here, and I'll space out a 3GT or GT3, whatever it is, tooth pulley. Now initially my idea was to come straight down, come out here far enough to clear all of this down here, come straight down here to a tower block, or what do they call them, with a bearing in it, these self-centering bearings, bolt one down to here. I've ordered 2 of them with a 12mm hole in them. I've ordered a length of 304 stainless 12mm. So it was just to come straight down here to their equal size pulleys down the other end. And then try and manipulate what's going on down the other end where it's got to drive the actual lead screw. After playing with it for a few days, I've decided the better idea would be because what I would have to do is somehow reduce it by half down the other end of speed. So I decided what I might do is put a bracket into here somewhere, out this way, mount the equal size pulley over here, and then go back down on an angle to a half size pulley there. So that will reduce the speed that the shaft through here is running at by half of the spindle speed. So that's what I'm going to do at this end. Let me move down the other end. So at the moment, the lead screw is driven by this windscreen wiper motor over here, through a tooth belt into a gear there, and from there up to the gear that's attached to the lead screw. To engage that, I have a lever, this lever here, which the little gear in here sits on, so that when I pull it up it'll engage this and drive it. So it's a simple case of pulling that in and out like that to engage the feet. So the plan is the shaft will come down through here, through the gap underneath there, sit out here. We'll have another tooth pulley on it, which would come up to another toothed pulley attached to a gear here. Now just hang on a second, let me move this again. Alrighty, so we got this gear here. So the lever will come up, the gear will sit on the lever, it'll pull up and engage into this gear here. Now originally I had plans to just use different size gears, but there's a little bit of a space limitation in here. So if I use a single pulley, a single gear there and a single pulley size here, all I got to do is change the pulley size, the drive pulley up the other end, in order to achieve the speed I want down here. So that's what I got planned. Whether it works or not is another story. But like I said, initially I can do all the prototyping with the 3D printer, and then once I've got everything I want worked out, then I can just order some proper steel gears and steel pulleys or whatever, or aluminium pulleys, and you know, change it all to metal rather than plastic. So yeah, it's going to be a big change to be able to cut single point threads. Like I said, I'm only interested in metric. I'm only going to go, I'll go the whole gamut from, I don't think I'll go below 0.1, because anything under a 1mm pitch, you're down talking 0.08 and stuff like that in M5s and M3s and all that sort of stuff. Just use button dies for that. But I'll do M1, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75 up to 2mm pitch. So that's where I'm at. While I've been waiting for everything to get here, I've drawn up these. That's a 3G sprocket there to drive the pulley that will drive the spindle. You can see it there like that. Now originally I tried to combine that and this gear, but I just, for some reason, I just couldn't get, well, they looked like they were joined, but every time I tried to add it to the extruder so I'd be able to 3D print it, it would come up say there was a problem with it, and I could never quite figure it out. Now 60 tooth, I did draw a 48 and a 60, but I was working on a full rotation to move 1mm, but it's not, it's only 3/4. So I'll have to recalculate how many teeth that needs again. I'm pretty sure from memory that the gear I'm driving is 28 tooth. But anyway, so that's the two for down the back end, and I drew this one up to try out on the drive shaft up the main pulley end, so that is 30 teeth, whereas it'll have two 60 tooth cogs higher up, one on the back of the spindle and one halfway down. I ordered them from China, but they're going to be a while because I ordered them over Chinese New Year and they won't get shipped for a while. But anyway, so what I might do is print up a couple of 60 tooth ones just while I'm waiting for them so we can get things underway. The shaft, the bearings arrived here just before. The shaft is, well, I think we'll get here this afternoon at some stage. So once the shaft and the bearings get here, I can have a look how all that fits up. Alrighty, so my length of 304 stainless rod just showed up. It was from a supplier I've never used before and I only bought it because it was sort of cheap. But minor problem, that's a 12mm bearing. Well, it's actually not even 12mm, it's what's it, bloody 11 point. Let's just make sure that's zero. Just turn it on, zero it out. It's only 11.9. And this bloody thing, it's 12.5 or something. 12.45, 46. So it's not 12mm at all, but it's a bit of a hassle because it's way longer than I really wanted, and I was just going to slip a bearing on this end, and then work out where it mounted up the other end, and then just cut the excess off, because this is 1 metre long. The lathe's only about, I think at best 900 or something, or 850, something like that. And I'll just run a tape over it. Yeah, it's only going to need to be 750 long, so you know there's a fair bit to cut off. But it means I'm going to have to machine the bloody thing both ends. It's a pain in the arse. Anyway, shit happens. So I'll get in and machine the ends down. I won't bother showing you that. I'll just knock them down, cut it to length, and then knock them down to this end. Only enough to fit the bearing on, I think, because if I'm going to print up a pulley, then I can make whatever bloody size I like, and if I buy aluminium ones in the end to use, then I can just stick them in a lathe and bore it out to whatever size I want to fit this shaft. And then the other end I'll have to machine probably 150mm of it to make sure it fits into this end, then everything else will fit over that. Alrighty, so I've machined the end of that down and the other end. Got a bearing setting up on the other end in place where it's going to go. I've had to drill a hole through here and then just cut a piece out on the side with the angle grinder, so I get some clearance up in here, and that has to come up to about that level there. I'll get my head in the way, sorry. About that level there. Doesn't interfere with this, so we're kind of right with that. So that's where I'm at. So I'll drill and tap some holes in this bit of aluminium so I can bolt that to it. Might have to take the drawer out so I can get a clamp in here and clamp that in place. I think I'll cut that off and put a couple of slots in it so that it's height adjustable, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, so there we have it. All of these faces, I barely cleaned them up, and that's all because it's only just big enough, and that's all this bit of material. If I have a look around, I might find another one of these somewhere. I must get down the bolt shop and top up all my bolt supplies, because they're all getting a bit light on. This one might be a bit shitty actually. I should have looked. That is an allocator I want to finish. That might be a bloody Imperial one that's appeared from somewhere, so I don't want to screw in. 1/4 inch, not 6mm. Just about all out of 6mm bolts, but anyway, there we have it. I might just round this corner off a bit over on the belt sander, but I'll get some bolts into that and set it up and bolt it on. Alrighty, just a quickie. I've used these little tooth belts quite a bit over the last few years on different projects. Trying to get the right length closed loop belt, it's always been a friggin' drama. So I had to look into making up your own custom length belts, and it appears to be no big deal. So I've bought a meter of this stuff, and I will endeavour to make my own up. On another note, this just showed up as well. I saw these. I was chasing some of these. They're little sanding drums. Chasing some when I was making the steam engine, I think, and I just couldn't find it, and then this just popped up. And I was looking for something else in Lazada the other day, and I went, oh, I'll have them. There was, I think it was, don't remember exactly, less than 100 baht, I think. That's about $4, something like that. No big deal. So there's 3 different sizes there, and there's quite a few replacement lengths, for $4. I thought I'll have that. But anyway, so I will be making my own belts out of this stuff. 10mm wide 3M belt. So that's that one. Alrighty, so after watching some more videos and things and thinking about just what it is I need to do, I've come up with this, and it actually works. It works in the extruder. Let me change to that. There it is in the extruder. Right, so that'll all work in there. Now, the reason I've changed to this style of gear here is with the great big hole in the middle. I've ordered some needle roller bearings that will fit inside this and down on the 12mm shaft coming to the back from the front, so that they can spin freely on a shaft. Anyway, so that's where I'm at with that. I also saw I was watching a video yesterday by a young Vietnamese guy, Car Lem, I think he called himself. And he made some plastic gears for a little Emco lathe he restored, and he did something, and I thought, well, that's a great idea. And what he did was he made some plastic gears and cored out the centre, and then put a steel centre in it to sit on the shafts, and then drilled and tapped some 4 holes around it to keep it all in place. And I thought, that's a great idea. So I'm going to do that, but I'll just make an aluminium core for these, and I'll go down that path. Alrighty, so next up, before I start pulling this thing apart and I can still machine things in it, I think I'll make the spacer to go on the back of that pulley so that I can space out the cog that has to drive down to the first idler. Anyway, while you weren't looking, I face this off. I'm just going to clean this up a bit. It doesn't, I mean, I've got plenty of meat there. I think that's 51 from memory. 50.9. That's the piece I bought for to make the end caps for the fuel tank on the Webster engine. Alrighty, so perfect opportunity to use that nice new U-drill I bought and the adapter I made for it. But if you watched the earlier videos, you'll remember that it's not centre cutting, so I've got to put something up the centre first, and just so it'll cut better. Still discovering what sort of feeds and speeds to run this thing at. Anyway, once it started to cut, it was right. So it definitely seemed to cut better with a bit of lube on it. Anyway, I'll get that out of there. Well, the U-drill cuts a bit undersized. It's supposed to be 16mm, but I only cut that at 15.7. Anyway, so I've zeroed all the Z and the X out, checked out where the bottom of the hole is because I don't want to crash that into the bottom. So we'll bore this out to 20mm. I want a piece of this to fit in there neatly because that will fit up the spindle, which means that I can use that to align this to mark the holes in it to drill in the pulley. So let's do this. Righto, that'll do, beautiful. Okay, so I'll chamfer that and that, and take it over the saw and cut it off, because I don't really want to try and part something off that's sticking out that far. I might have just completely stuffed that up. This tool's a bit past square and it was cutting along that back edge there. It's got to be 11mm. What have we got? No, not close enough for me. I'm not going to play with that anymore. Alright, so I'll give it a couple of chamfers. It's too big for me to reach over the back. Bloody compressor started. I very rarely use this tool. It's about the only time I've used it for doing things like this. So I'll get that out of there and I'll go and put it in the mill. You can quite clean that face up, it doesn't really matter. Jeez, I crushed it a bit there too. Oh well, doesn't matter. Press it up on the belt sander. Get those little tacky bits off there. Get over in the mill and drill 4 holes in it. At this point in the video, I'd like to thank my patrons. Their continued support is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to become a patron, there's a link down in the description. You can sign up there and drop me a couple of dollars every month. If you don't want to be a regular contributor, there's always buy me a coffee. Now, let's get back to the build. Alright, so as you just saw, I've centered it all up and I've just created a 4-hole pattern in the DRO. So I'm just going to go around and spot these. Oh, that's a hassle. This DRO of mine, once I've set a hole pattern in it, I can't change the Z value. It's unbelievable. I thought I'd jump straight across there because, no, there's 4 over there, that's 3, isn't it? 3. It's telling me X is 15.15, which is wrong, so I've pressed the wrong button somewhere before. Number 2 should be here. I go to across to 0 here. No, it's definitely something wrong there. I've done something wrong here. I pressed the wrong button, so I'm going to have to start again. Man, what a pain in the patootie that was. What happened was I pressed the enter button instead of the down button, and it just screwed everything up, and I've had a hell of a time getting it back to what it's supposed to be, but I've just been round and checked and it looks to be right now, so press the damn down button, idiot, and go off to where you're supposed to be. Alright, I wasn't 100% certain I was going to clear this parallel here. Alright, I'll get that out of there and just give all these holes just a light chamfer, and then have a quick look how it all looks on the back of that spindle. Alrighty, so that all fits pretty nicely on there. No play. This blue line here is where the keyway is, so I have to watch how I don't bloody line myself up with that. Now when I add the pulley to here, it should clear down here with a bit of luck, if I've got my calculations right and the dimensions given for the pulley that I have on order is right. So that's that bit. Now I'm still waiting on a heap of things to get here, so and this is starting to drag on a bit, this video. So I think that's about all I've probably got time for this week, so I will call that an end to this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And if you did, make sure you give it a great big thumbs up and smash that like button, because you know it kind of helps me out. Alright, that's it for this week. I'll see you all next week. Bye bye.